So I'm not sure what the criteria is for this. There's been a lot of lists over the years. You know, Rolling Stone famously do these top 100 artists, top 100 songs, stuff like that. But this one caught my attention because it's not often you get a top greatest bands and artists from Australia list. So I thought, you guys might find it interesting anyway. But look, number one, they've got Chisel, which, hey, I've got no issue with that. I think they are an amazing band. They haven't crossed over as much internationally, very little, but from an Australian and New Zealand perspective, they're totally iconic. And they are just a great rock and roll band. So I give them their dues there for sure. As I said, I'm not sure the criteria of what is included here, whether it's album sales versus artistic creativity, longevity. I guess these things come into play. I'm not sure what the criteria is, but I tell you what. Now they've got AC/DC at number 2, which is, they're just massive. They're like huge, like iconic. INXS at 3. I'm okay with these. Powderfinger at 4. I really like Powderfinger and especially Vulture Street, but there's no way I can see them at number 4 of the greatest rock bands and artists from Australia. Icehouse Flowers, look, iconic, great band in their field, so they should be somewhere in the mix, and they had international success. Midnight Oil absolutely have to be high on this list. They are one of the great Australian rock bands. And they did massively overseas as well, crossed over, to the States and other pockets, UK, Europe, especially around that diesel and dust time. They are iconic. They summarise what Australia is, and their music reflects that. Men at Work should be on this list, no question, with the success they had internationally. The Divinals, yeah. Chrissy Amphlett, iconic pub rock. She was very, very influential, no question about that. I've seen them live. I'm not sure to have them at 8, but they're definitely worthy. Paul Kelly, a bit of a Bob Dylan of Australian music as a singer-songwriter, storyteller. He deserves to be on the list, no question. I'm not sure at 9, but he as a singer-songwriter, I think he's sure. Jimmy Barnes, now, Cole Chisel's there. Okay, Barnes' solo career, very impactful as well, so why not put him in the list? John Farnham at 11. Iconic singer, I've got no problem with that. Now, it starts to get interesting. So you've got Ozzy Crawl at 12, all right? Classic surf rock. James Rain. They're a cool band, but I'm not sure about 12. You got Silverchair, Crowded House at 14. The Screaming Jets at 15. Where this gets weird is then you've got the bands like the Hoodoo Gurus, and then you've got the Angels below those bands at 17. Now that's an iconic pub rock band that sadly didn't break through more internationally. They had pockets of the States where they were doing well. It just didn't pan out for them, but they are iconic. Then going through the list, where it becomes interesting, obviously, Diesel, Johnny Diesel, yeah, I love that whole thing, but I wouldn't have him at 22. I wouldn't have Noiseworks at 24. I put Bernard Fanning at 25. Hey, that guy, great songwriter. I'm a big fan of Bernard Fanning. So maybe there, but would you put, at this point here, I find it fascinating. They've got the living in there are ahead of the Church. So the Church is one of those iconic 80s. They were massive under the Milky Way. Starfish, the album before that as well. But they did some iconic music, and they were very much a wider audience internationally. There's no way. They should be further up the list. They've got Split Enz there at 29. They're not even an Australian band. They're a Kiwi band. They're not Australian. So hey, If you want to have an Australasian list, now there we go. That would be cool. Then they certainly would be included. The Saints are at 38. What an amazing, one of the first punk bands. I'm Stranded. What an amazing band. Down at 38 there. They've got the Wiggles at 42. The fucking Wiggles. It's a bloody parody dress up in pajamas kids thing. It's not a real artist. It's a joke. Come on, the Wiggles. The Wiggles are above Rose Tattoo. Well, there you go. Check them out. And then you go down the list here. They've got the Bee Gees at 52. The Bee Gees, one of the biggest selling bands of all time. They're one of the biggest bands of all time. Where this is an interesting choice is if they were categorised as Australian, surely they would be right up there in the top 10. Fuck, no question. But they're not even Australian in the sense that they were born in Manchester. Sure, they moved to Brisbane, Redcliffe somewhere when they were relatively young and spent some of their teen years living in Queensland, Australia. But then when maybe won a talent show or something, then they went back to Manchester. So they're very much an English band. But even if you're going to put them in this list, it's odd. Dragon at 54. Again, it's a Kiwi, organic Kiwi band that made their name in Australia. So again, that's an Australasian thing. How on earth could you have the Little River Band at 59? The Little River Band. They're like iconic, massive in the States, massive worldwide during that period. Some of those great songs like Reminiscing, I'll Be Home on a Monday. There's so many to name. They're a brilliant band. All right. So 59, and they are Australian. Just going down the list here. There's the 12th Man at 77. That's a comedy release. It's not an artist. It's not a musician. It's not a singer. It's a guy taking the piss out of the cricket commentators and sport commentators, which is funny, but it's not a top 100 artists and band list, So so he's come up above Daddy Cool, and Daddy Cool's a classic Australian band. And the Radiators are below that, and the Bad Loves, and Nick Cave's below. Nick Cave, wow. Nick Cave's like one of the most iconic goth legendary artists, and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds really broke through in the UK and across the world. Okay, so yeah, just looking at some of these others to sort of knock out this top 100 thing. Rick Springfield at 100. Hey, they've even got My Six there at 86. All right, again, a Kiwi band on an Australia list. It's not Australasian top 100. This is the top 100 artists and bands from Australia. So they need to look at that. But this is a very inconsistent list. I just do not understand where the criteria comes from for these, what they identify as to break it down in the list. Or do they really... for all of it, does Rolling Stone do the same? Do they just focus on a top 10 and then just throw it in a mix there and just randomly just put some names out of these artists without any kind of thought of order? Because that's what I'm thinking here, and I'm thinking more and more of these lists. There's no real integrity to the order. They'll throw a lot of names out there and make a big hoopla about the number one. Hey, these are just my thoughts, but let me know what your thoughts are on that top list. Have a look at it. I'll leave the link in the comment section and description. So check it out yourself and let me know your feedback on some of the artists there that you think should be there that aren't there, and where this kind of ranking is all over the show. Really appreciate feedback on that. So if you enjoy this kind of thing, please do subscribe, please like the video, and leave your comments and feedback. And we'll be back doing more, but thanks again. Have a great week. Cheers.